but I want to go through with you guys my whole sales process. Okay. I've been doing this for almost a decade. I've had a lot of different sales managers, different people on my sales team, different sales experts I've worked with. The first piece here is hook. The hook is, why is someone going to stay on the phone with you or talk to you? A lot of you guys pick up the phone and you say, hey, have you thought about selling your house? This is so-and-so. That is not a hook. A hook is giving them a reason to stay on the phone. It needs to sound confident. It needs to sound like there's a reason for them to stick around. Hey, stick around with me for 7 minutes. I'm going to make sure that I get the information needed to make you a cash offer for your property or come out to your property. So give them a reason, a passionate reason to stay on the phone with you. Don't expect people to stay on the phone with you for no reason. That does nothing for you. So a hook is so important. The next thing we want to do is frame the call. And what does that mean? It means you're telling them what's about to happen. If you don't tell them what's about to happen, no one wants to stay on the phone for 15 minutes and not have any idea or reason why. So when you frame a call for someone, what that looks like is, hey, now that I got you, here's what's about to happen. And you can frame the whole sales process or just that call or both. I like to frame first the call and then the whole process. So, hey, today I'm going to only take 7 to 10 minutes of your time. I have 5 to 10 questions I got to ask you. That allows me to get that information to my underwriting department. So then we can work on getting you an offer for your property. But if I don't ask these questions, I'm not a professional. I'm not doing my job. How does that sound? That sounds good. Cool. After this call, what this process tends to look like, and now I'm framing the whole process, is usually this will happen in 3 to 4 calls. I might come out to your house once or twice. Our goal is to make you an offer we don't have to go back on. I need to know a little more about the property. But what's going to happen over the coming week or 2 or 3 is we're going to agree on a price. You're going to choose the closing date. You're going to choose once we agree on the price, you're going to choose the closing date. We're going to deposit earnest money to a third-party title and escrow company. You're going to communicate with them. They're going to ask you some basic questions. 15 to 45 days after that, we are going to close on your property. How does that sound? Right. So you're framing first the call every single time you talk to them and then the whole process. That's the frame, a second part of a sales process. And guys, this isn't all going to be one phone call. Sometimes this takes weeks. Sometimes this takes months. It doesn't matter. But these are the steps you want to work through. Right. Myths and leverage. I added this recently for my team because we kept running into the thing of like, there's a lot of people that are talking to these people. Right. So how do we separate ourselves early on from our competition? And there's 2 ways we do that. First is credibility. And the second is a differential. And so that's what I always tell my salespeople is, hey, you got to first build credibility. And the second thing, you got to create a differential between us and our competition. So how do we build credibility? Well, if say I call someone I don't know, there's 2 ways to do it: direct credibility and indirect credibility. Direct credibility is saying, hey, go to my website. I have a bunch of video and written testimonials and reviews from former clients, former prospects on there. I'm going to send you a credibility packet. Like one of the things that we send to build credibility and create that differential early on is our credibility packet. So our credibility packet is one of the things right when someone hits our CRM, they get emailed this credibility packet. And what it is it's simple. It's our branding and it walks you through about us. It walks you through what we do, our process, very simple and to the point. And then it points them to our website where we have more testimonials. But the point is most people aren't going to do that. So you're differentiating yourself in the sales process just by doing little things. But it's so important to have that as part of your sales process. So the credibility piece, it's also indirect credibility. So I can go to my prospect and say, hey, if you don't trust me, that is fine. I'm going to point you to my third-party title and escrow company, and they will tell you themselves how legit we are. And we've gotten so many deals over our competition by this because your title and escrow company will be happy to speak words of encouragement about you to your sellers. And we've had so many sellers call into our title and escrow company and say, hey, is Cole legit? Yes, Cole and his team are legit. They're great. We love working with them. You will be incredibly happy and taken care of. That's how you build indirect credibility. It's like the example of if you go to a networking event and you go and introduce yourself to someone, it works, but it's not as powerful as if someone introduces you to them and says, hey, this is my buddy Cole. He's a freaking killer. You have to get to know them. You guys are going to do business together. That's a much more powerful intro. And so I love building indirect credibility with sellers using our title and escrow company or closing attorney or other vendors that can say, hey, don't take Cole's word for it. Take my word for it. He's great. You're going to love him. You're going to enjoy your process. He's a great guy. That's what indirect credibility is. The second thing our sales team has to create at the beginning of our sales process is a differential, because these people on average are probably talking to 6 or 7 realtors plus other off-market companies. And a differential is you create a separation between your competition and yourself. And the way you do that is you go, hey, my guess is what's happening is you're getting a bunch of phone calls from a bunch of different off-market companies. And what they're going to do is they're going to put you under contract. And about 20 days after that, they're going to price drop you once you're already locked in. And a lot of times screw you over. That is not what we do here. What we do here is XYZ. And what we have started doing a lot is pre-selling deals and getting firm numbers from buyers even before we lock deals up. That's the power of having VIP plus buyers, because then we can go, what we do is we release earnest money 2 or 3 days after we get into escrow and we waive our inspections. And so we're guaranteeing them a sale. And you don't have to do that. There's other ways to create differentials just by sending credibility packets and by taking little steps and getting to know them. But a differential is amazing. And the beautiful thing about where a lot of you guys are at right now is when your business isn't big, you can afford to do unscalable things. And so the amount of you guys, when you get an escrow on a contract, whether you're an agent or an investor, or you're working with a seller who's super close to working with you, that's deciding between multiple parties, you can do things when you're doing 20 deals a year. You can write a handwritten letter. You can show up at their house. You can take them to coffee. You can take them to lunch. I took so many sellers to coffee and lunch early on in my journey. You can do the beautiful thing about not being a scaled company is you can do unscalable things. Taking sellers to lunch is not a scalable activity. But right now, if you need deals, you need revenue, it's time to do some things that are unscalable. And those create differentials as well. Let's go to the next part of the sales process, which is discovery. Okay, this is when you get the questions that you need. And we're looking for price, motivation, timeline, and condition. Those are the 4 pillars of motivation. This can be 1 call. This can be 5 calls. This can be 3 in-person appointments. Doesn't matter. This is just the overall framework you want to work each seller with. And it's going to be at a different speed limit with each seller. So it's not a one size fits all here. Okay. So the first thing is price. That's obviously what a lot of you guys think of as the most important thing of this. It's not. Your job on the sales process is to understand where they are trying to go at the end of the rainbow and paint that picture for them and how you're going to help them get there. Okay. So our job is to uncover as many of these pillars as we can during discovery. My favorite question to uncover condition is asking them, hey, if I gave you a Home Depot gift card for $50,000, what would you fix at the house? And they're going to say, oh, we do the windows, the flooring, the countertops. That's going to give me a feeling of condition. Then timeline. A lot of people will tell you their timeline. That's not a hard one. My rule is cut it in half. I found that if someone tells you 6 months, they're really thinking 3 months. If someone tells you 2 months, they're really thinking 1 month. Because like human psychology, I've found 2 things. One, when you call someone to buy their property, they are going to ask for a price way higher than they even know it's worth. And they are going to tell you a timeline longer than it actually is because they don't want you to think they're in distress because naturally they know that gives you leverage. So cut that in half. Motivation. The way that I tackle motivation isn't, hey, what is bothering you today? It's, hey, if you sold this property to me and you got the price you wanted, what does your life look like after? And they're going to tell me, hey, Cole, it looks like I'm going to move to Alabama because my aunt passed and I inherited a property out there that I want to go live in and my siblings are out there, whatever it is. That's their story. That's where they're going. Even though they're not going to tell you that that's their motivation today, that is where they're trying to get to. And so I want to understand what this sale means to them. And then I can understand how I can create perceived value for them. Those are the 2 things. And perceived value isn't what we think is valuable. It's what they think is valuable. And the companies that do a lot of deals, they focus on more than just price. Like on a lot of our deals, we're paying for moving companies. On a lot of our deals, we're helping sellers find apartments. On a lot of our deals, we're helping sellers find financing for their next house. On a lot of our deals, we're going above and beyond and solving all their solutions. If they need an attorney, we're helping find an attorney. We're solving all of their problems and providing solutions for all of their problems. And that makes price much easier to work through. Right? If you know where they want to go and you can explain to them how you're going to get them there by solving all of their problems, price becomes much more flexible because the perceived value goes up. I'll give you an example. That $175,000 deal, the largest assignment fee that I ever done, closed in 2 weeks. That guy worked with us because he wanted to mentor us. His perceived value was these guys are young, hungry, honest, transparent guys. I want to help them and I want to mentor them. That was his perceived value. Right? Some sellers perceive value. It might mean more to them that you help them find a moving company and you pay for a moving company than it does you pay them an extra $20,000. So we gotta meet our prospects where they are, and that is the discovery process is what tells us how to do that. And you guys need to be listening a lot more than you're talking. You guys should be listening 70% of the time, talking 30, because your job is to open up the conversation, but then take what they give you to solve their problems. That is it. So that's the discovery piece. And that can take 1 call, 2 calls, 5 calls. Then you have disengage, right? And this isn't on every deal, but I like to train my sales team and my guys to disengage, right? If a prospect is you've taken them through a 2-hour marathon call, step back for a second. We forget these are humans on the other end of the line. They have emotions, they have lives, they have bad days. And if you're working with someone that is typically a happy person and you catch them on a bad day, just say, hey, we don't need to talk business today. I hope you have an amazing day. If there's any way I can help, let me know. We'll touch base tomorrow. And you touch base tomorrow and you be a human being, because you have to understand your prospect. And sometimes that means disengage. If you're trying to jam a price down their throat and it's just not happening, pull back, right? You don't have to solve every issue. You don't have to get a deal signed in one day. A lot of us just need to understand this can take a month, 2 months, 3 months to get deals done. And that's fine. Price anchor. Okay. Price anchoring is huge, super, super important. This is how we actually start talking price. And the way we talk price, guys, in our sales process is not, hey, here's what I think your property's worth. I think it's worth 300. What do you want? Oh, you want 310. Well, I'll give you 305. Let's meet. That's not how you do pricing in this business. You want to make the market the enemy and put yourself on their team. Okay. You want them to feel like you're a teammate and the market's the opponent. And the way you do that is saying, hey, Mr. Seller, I would absolutely be thrilled to pay you $2 million for your home, $1 million for your home, $500,000 for your home. If I could, I would. The reality is, in the past 2 years, interest rates have gone from 2.5% to 6.5%. The market's shaky. It's unstable. The reality is, I'm a for-profit company, not a non-profit company. The reality is, your neighbor's home down the street, 123 Main Street, that's nicer than yours and a little bit bigger than yours, just sold for less than the number you're asking for. So with all those being true, do you understand why I can't pay that? Yeah, I understand how, and a lot of times they're not going to be reactive to that right away, but that is how you introduce the conversation. You'd use real market data, real comps, and you use what's actually happening and you be honest with them. So many of us want to use slimy sales tactics and be like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. In reality, it's just, here's the market conditions. Here's what our repairs are going to cost. And you're very objective and you put yourself on their team. Okay. And the way you do that is solving their problems, understanding where they're trying to go and and the perceived value of how you're going to help them get there. And then being really diligent about using objective data to walk them into a price range. But the only piece of leverage that you guys have in this business is the magical number that you have that you're going to get them on the market if you're an agent, or you're going to offer them for their home if you're an investor. So do not just give that away. They don't care what you think the house is worth. They care what their home is actually worth and what they can get for it. And you want to focus on that. And then the takeaway, you guys, after a price anchor, I really like to kind of get rid of commission breath. And even if I have someone ready to go, I'm not going to be head over heels, pushing and getting hot and heavy with commission breath. I'm going to step back and say, hey, we're ready to go if you are, and you want to get a commitment from them here. So you want to say, hey, if we come out to your property, I'm going to take internal company resources and set them aside to get this deal done. Are you giving me your word that you're ready to sign this agreement when I show up tomorrow? So you really want to create a takeaway and you really want to create a guarantee and get them to commit to you that they're ready to take the next step. And that's when you bridge to the close. The one other thing that I'll mention here, you guys, this works whether you're doing in-person or overseas or virtual appointments, whether you're doing listings or off-market deals. And the one other thing here that I think is invaluable is micro agreements. The more you can get them to say yes and agree with you throughout this whole process, the better off they'll be. And you'll be in terms of the rapport, the relationship, and everything that comes with it. So that is our A to Z sales process. And again, this is a repetition thing more than anything. It is a feel. You have to get a feel for it. And you're going to tweak some of this for yourself, but it is being on the phone, being in person, getting the reps in. That's how you become good at sales. This stuff is just icing on the cake to help you have a framework.